Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for Wednesday Wisdom at the Jewish Museum live platform. My name is Emma, and I am an engagement officer at the Jewish Museum. And today you are joining me for an object talk on our doll's house. This object is one of over 40,000 objects in the Jewish Museum London's designated collection that shows the diversity of Jewish life and history. And our programmes exist to explore connections between faith and cultures. The Doll's House is on display in our History Gallery. Now, you can have a look at the picture of this doll's house by either clicking on the link in the video description or by clicking on the link that I'm going to be sharing now in the comments section. So do click on that if you would like to have a look. Now, our theme across the week at the museum is families, and I chose to talk about this object because it was handmade by a father for his daughter's 5th birthday. Before I share more about the history of this doll's house, I want to ask all of you watching if you had a doll's house when you were growing up, or perhaps if your children or grandchildren have one. You may well have spotted that I am sitting in front of one that I had whilst growing up. Doll's houses are very popular children's toys, so I'm guessing for some of you watching, the answer is also yes to having had a doll's house. And if you did, I wonder if it looked anything like the one in our museum collection. Was it in a similar style, perhaps? Now, whilst quite a few of you might have had a doll's house, or may still have one, I'm going to guess for most of you it probably didn't look too much like the one in our museum collection. Dolls' houses grew in popularity after the Industrial Revolution, when they could be mass-produced, making them affordable to the middle classes for the first time. They were very popular toys of the Victorian period, found in many, many toy shops. To this day, most dolls' houses are still made to look like they are from the Victorian and Edwardian periods, and it is less common for them to be built in the style of this doll's house, the Art Deco style, a building style popular in the interwar years. So this doll's house is not a typical one, but different in style, and I want to discuss why this was the case. Well, firstly, it is because this is not a mass-produced doll's house, but was instead handmade by a man called Malcolm Libling. Malcolm Libling was born to a Jewish cabinet maker in the East End of London. We have a few photos of Malcolm in our collection, and one of them shows him standing outside his father's shop. Whilst we do not know what his father's first name was, we can see in the photograph the shop name R. Libling, the general cabinet makers. Malcolm didn't follow his father into this profession, but instead became a shirt salesman and manager of a watch shop. However, he seems to have picked up some skills from his father's trade as he made this doll's house himself. And not just the exterior of the house, but the many pieces of furniture inside as well, which I will describe in a moment. Malcolm's life can be pieced together by the few photographs we have of him in our collection. For example, we have a photograph of him boxing, showing it to be a hobby of his. That photograph of Malcolm was taken in 1920, when he would have been 20 years old. We also have a couple of photographs of him on holiday at the seaside with a group of friends. One of these shows him in an open-top charabanc heading to the beach on what appears to be a very windy day for a trip to the seaside. Now, whilst there is no date to this particular photo, it also seems to have been taken in the 1920s when Malcolm was in his 20s. He was 38 when he had his daughter Thelma, which in 1938 was older than the average age for men to have children. For her 5th birthday in 1943, He made Thelma this doll's house here. On the image, you might be able to make out a house name hanging in front of the door to the house. This reads Thelma's. Perhaps the decision to make a doll's house himself reflects the limited number of toys available to buy in wartime. Or perhaps a desire by Malcolm to make something special, unique, and personal for his daughter on her birthday. The doll's house is certainly different, not only handmade, but in the Art Deco style, with cream walls and green doors and window frames. The reason for this unusual style is that it's based on an actual house in Ammering-on-Sea, which Malcolm saw on one of his holidays there. Having seen some photographs of Malcolm in our collection, laughing and enjoying a seaside holiday, we can see he has built this doll's house based on those happy memories. Thelma, in turn, would have spent many hours playing, perhaps with her father, with a house modelled on that seaside house. In a way, I think the doll's house can show us the dreams and aspirations of families living in the East End, and in particular, this one family. This house was made in 1943, in wartime, when Londoners were living in challenging, dangerous times, and this doll's house brings out a hope for a calmer, quieter, safer lifestyle that Malcolm had found on his summer holidays and remembered fondly. The importance of a summer holiday to get away from all our worries and relax is one I think many people share. The inside of the doll's house and the items inside can also tell us a lot about the people who owned it, their hobbies, their interests, their dreams. I wonder if you answered yes to having had a doll's house when you were growing up, or perhaps if anyone in your family had one. And if so, I wonder what items you had inside your doll's house. If you had anything handmade in it, or any sections that you decorated yourself. For example, my sister and I had this doll's house that you can see behind me here. And because we both loved reading, we made some handmade tiny books for all the animals in the house to read. We've got The Secret Garden here, Winnie the Pooh here. I wonder if there was anything you made for your doll's house. If so, do share it with me in the comments section. I'd really love to see. As far as we know, Malcolm never actually went inside the house in Ammering-on-Sea that he based his doll's house on, so he probably designed the inside himself completely, or perhaps with input from Thelma. The items inside give us an idea of what Malcolm and Thelma enjoyed doing together, a glimpse into their family life, and an idea of what their ideal house would have been. For example, there is a piano inside the living room. Having a piano in the house was fading out in popularity as the radio was replacing them. They were also more commonly found in wealthy middle-class family houses, although many working-class people still learnt to play. There is a mini piece of sheet music next to the piano that has been completely made by hand and is entitled Bedtime Tunes. This piece of sheet music suggests some musical ability, and perhaps music was very important to Thelma and Malcolm. I can picture them writing out their own mini sheet music together and coming up with what they should call it. Was it perhaps based on sheet music they already had in their home? Or did they make up their own music together? As well as the piano, there are other signs that the furnishings of the house reflect what their dream house would look like if they had money to spare. There are fashionable Art Deco mantel clocks, large bookshelves absolutely filled with miniature books, a little radio, and a highly fashionable jade green bathroom. Perhaps that one is less fashionable today. A lot of the items in the house are linked to relaxation. This is a house built for relaxing, and for having fun, whether that's reading, playing the piano, sitting on a sofa in the bedroom, listening to the radio, or going out onto the balcony to look at the sea. There are a few items that do show a need to do chores, such as a model wooden ironing board. These are very much the minority. This house reflects a desire to be fashionable and stylish, yet wanting to focus on relaxation and pastimes. I think it's interesting to see what the house can tell us about the dreams of many of the inhabitants of the East End that they probably shared, and in particular the dreams of this one family. A desire to have more time, to play, and to be together somewhere where they could just relax and be safe and not have to worry about the hardships or dangers caused by war. We have one photo of Malcolm with his daughter Thelma in our collection. This was taken 1 year after he had completed this doll's house. They were now living in Kingsbury in Brent, having moved to the suburbs from Bethnal Green. It seems that they had found a quieter, calmer pace of life that the doll's house suggests they were hoping for. Malcolm passed away in December 1982 in Hendon. 6 years later, Thelma donated this doll's house to our museum, along with several photographs of her father. I am really pleased we have this object on display in our history gallery. This gallery tells many important stories of the hardships people faced at this time due to war, anti-Semitism, and poverty. This object shows another side to that story. The care and hard work one father put into making a really special gift for his daughter, the affection between the two of them, and the happy times they spent together playing with it, despite the difficult times they lived in. A gift that meant so much to his daughter that she went on to donate it to our museum after Malcolm's death so we could continue to tell his story. For me, I think this object is particularly powerful now, as we are living in a strange and for many a difficult time. With schools closed, children are spending more time at home with their families. And I wonder, what stories, the games and toys they are creating together could tell future generations about their hopes and dreams, and the resilience of people to find opportunities, to laugh, to imagine, and to play together in difficult times. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today for this object talk. Do join me again tomorrow at midday for a special Object Talk Live for BBC Museums from Home. I will be sharing a photo of students in an art class in Yemen in the 1950s and exploring the Jewish community of Aden. So do join me then, and thank you so much for joining me today for this Object Talk Live. Thank you.